Most people think that God gives wealth to the smartest people. I don't believe that's true, because before God ever allowed me to make my first $1 million online, there was things that he had to get rid of, things that he had to rip away, things that he had to prune in my life to make me the person that could sustain the wealth. And looking back now, I realize that there was 5 things that God had to show me before he could ever trust me with more. If you are praying for increase, you're praying for freedom, you're praying for more, you know deep down that 9 to 5, that you are called for more than just a salary of $100,000 a year, $200,000 a year. You feel like you're giving the best of yourself to an employer and there's still things locked up on the inside of you. Listen up, because this video is going to explain why you're feeling that way. By the way, if you are a professional, you're a coach, you're a consultant, you're an entrepreneur, and you've been looking for a way to turn your lived experience into an income producing asset, I've put together a free training that I've linked below in the description just for you. But first, let me show you the 5 things that God had to show me before he could ever entrust me with more. Most people think that wealth starts with money, but that's not the case. Trust me, ask me how I know. Wealth starts with stewardship. And before I ever made my first $1 million in the online space, God spent years working on me, not on my business, not on my income. He spent years working on me. Principle number 2, God rewards ownership, not dependence. Proverbs 21 says that the plans of the diligent lead surely to abundance, not to lack. But when you're diligently working on something, diligently stewarding your income, diligently taking the gifts and the talents and the expertise and learning how to package it up and use it to monetize, diligence leads surely to abundance. Listen, for years I thought that a job, a paycheck, was my security until life taught me otherwise. Let me tell you a story. Back in 2020, the whole entire world was shut down. It was during the pandemic. I was fired from my corporate job. My utilities were getting ready to be cut off, and I had an eviction notice on my door. I had to look at my kid and wonder how I was going to feed him the next week. And this is what I understood in that moment, that a job is not really security. I don't care if you've been at that job 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. When somebody else comes along that is willing to do your same job for half the salary, you better believe that they're getting ready to cut your position. If something happens like the pandemic and they eliminate whole departments, your job is no longer security. The only thing that's secure in this life is your assets that you build. Millionaires and billionaires, they understand how to invest into something one time that's going to pay them over and over and over again. There's a difference in mindsets between rich people and poor people. Poor people, the acronym for poor is passing over opportunities repeatedly. POOR. You see, poor people will pass over every opportunity that comes their way, and they would rather spend their income on flashy cars, big houses, Jordans, out to eat food, expensive clothes to make them look rich. When wealthy people, they invest into their knowledge. They invest into income producing assets. When that happened and I lost that position, I realized that I had spent years building value into a system, an ecosystem, another company that I didn't even own. This experience now forced me to think differently. The kingdom has always been about stewardship, multiplication, and dominion, not dependence. In the very beginning, in Genesis, God didn't call Adam to maintain the garden. He called him to cultivate it, to build, to manage, to multiply. You see, multiplication isn't just a kingdom biblical principle. It's also a business principle. Principle number 3, God uses what you already have. You see, in Exodus 4:2, God was asking Moses, what's in your hand? And he pointed to the very staff that Moses was carrying. So many times we're looking around thinking we need more experience, more knowledge. We need to perfect this just a little bit more. And a lot of times, high achievers, we hide behind perfection when in actuality, it's procrastination, because it's never going to be perfect. We're always going to think we need a little bit more. We need to tweak a little bit more. We need to save up a little bit more, when in actuality, that's what's holding us back. So many people pray for opportunities and they overlook what they already have. Your experience, your knowledge, your wisdom that you've acquired in all of the years that you've lived, your expertise that you have gained and mastered in that career, that is something that you can package up and build an income producing asset with. The very thing that has been longing in your heart and that you've been asking God to provide is most likely already in seed form. It's in your hands already. Your calling, that thing that you've been desperately asking God to be able to fulfill, because it seems like in that career, in that position, that all you do is work to pay bills. And yes, you make 6 figures. Yes, you are a high achiever, but there's still that void that you feel like you're not walking out your calling, because God never calls you to build somebody else's vision while deep down you feel like you're losing yours. You see, it's already in your hand. It's in your expertise. Principle number 4, faith requires movement. One story that always sticks out to me is the story of the KFC guy. He was 60 something years old and he was living on Social Security, and Social Security wasn't enough to be able to sustain him. He had lived his entire life building other people's businesses, making other people rich, while his calling and purpose was pushed further and further on the back burner. When he was in his 60s, he finally decided to do something with what was already in his hands. He knew that he couldn't live off of Social Security, but he also felt like he didn't have anything that he needed to be able to do something and build something that he had in his heart to build. But one thing he did remember is he had his grandmother's recipe. His grandmother's recipe, literally a recipe that most people would have counted out and felt like they had nothing that they can offer the world. But he went to person after person after person presenting his recipe. He got 1,000 no's of people that he was trying to present this recipe to partner up with and to build something that he had a dream of building. And on his 1,000th person, you guys, so many of us are willing to quit before we ever get to that yes. But on his 1,000th person, somebody finally said yes. And now his dream went global, okay? So it's what's in your hands right now. You see, the yes didn't come before the movement. He continued to move by faith. He continued to go to person to person to person and didn't give up. Remember the scripture earlier about diligence always leading you to abundance, right? You have to keep moving forward on your dreams. You can't continue to just keep making other people rich because one stream of income is too close to none. I don't care if that income is 100,000, 200,000, 500,000. You're still building somebody else's vision. You're still making somebody else rich. And at any given point in life, that position can be cut for you. You have to start building now. And one of the biggest things that I see people doing is they're waiting for certainty before they ever act at all. And they're waiting for confidence. They're waiting for permission. They're waiting for confirmation until everything is perfect before they do anything. But let me tell you something that I've learned in my lived experience. Clarity only comes after you take action. You see, clarity scales and confusion fails. When you're clear on what it is that you want to do and you start moving in faith, confidence then follows. Confidence never comes before you take action. Same thing with clarity. And certainty definitely doesn't come before you move in faith. And the people that are building true freedom so they can actually live life and not have a boss dictate their schedule, they're the ones that are ready to move before everything gets figured out. They're the ones that are ready to bet on themselves, to take risks. You see, in order to be something great, you have to get out of your comfort zone. You have to bet on yourself. All of the years of building other people's businesses and other people's income, that could have been years that you were building something quietly on the side until one day it compounds so big and so great that no job could ever fulfill what that gives you on the inside and the income that it produces. Principle number 5, God cares more about the person that you become in the process than all of the money that's going to come your way. Ask me how I know. It wasn't until I realized when money started flowing to me and I had my first $10,000 week, my first $20,000 month, my first $100,000 month. It wasn't until then that I realized every other area of my life needed to be improving as well. You see, once you step into that wealth, once you step into a whole new battlefield, not only does it demand a new version of you to step up to the plate, but inside everything starts pushing you to improve. Your relationships need improving, your spiritual life, your relationship with God starts improving, your emotions need improving, okay? So spiritually, financially, relationally, emotionally, all of this demands a better version of you to show up. And so once you get that wealth, you now need to start improving all the other areas of your life so that you could sustain the wealth. And let me tell you why I say that. When I first started making my $100,000 months in the online space, I had not improved all the other areas of my life. And so I ended up losing everything. And it was in those moments that God began to show me that the inside of me needed leveling up as well. My relationships, my finances, my emotions, right? My spending habits, my relationship with the income, everything needed to be able to level up so that I could sustain the blessing that He was giving me. Then I built it back up again and I did major renovation on my spiritual life, on my relationships, my relationship with my kid, the way that I managed my money spiritually, emotionally, financially, relationally, area of my life I began to work on, and then I was able to sustain the blessing and it started coming to me easier and faster. You see, we want the success, but God, He wants transformation from the inside out. I wanted growth, and God wanted to build my character. Wealth without character, that's very dangerous. That's why you see people saying that you need to build your character, because when the blessing comes, your character won't be able to sustain the blessing. It's so true. Also, influence without character, that's destructive as well. And growth without wisdom, that becomes unstable. So in everything, the greatest thing that God built on my journey, it wasn't the wealth. Yes, that's amazing and it's changed the trajectory of my life and my family's life, but the biggest thing that He changed, it was me. And when you understand that, you stop chasing money and money starts chasing you. And you start pursuing alignment, because money follows value. What value can you give to the marketplace? What value can you give to that relationship? What value can you give to that spouse, to your children, to your people that you're coaching, right? To your community? What value can you give them? And lasting wealth, that requires stewardship. If you're watching this and you feel stuck, maybe God isn't withholding from you. Maybe he's preparing you. And maybe the delay isn't punishment. Maybe it's just development. Because most of the time, before God expands your income, he expands your capacity. So when the income comes, you can handle it. If you're a professional that knows that you're called to more than just a paycheck, and you want to learn how to turn your expertise, your lived experience that you've gained in your career, then I want you to click the training below, because I have a training that's going to show you how to take all of the knowledge that you have in your lived experience and expertise and package it up into something that is an income producing asset.